This is why you're stuck. This is not going to apply to everybody, but I know a lot of you champion mains have problems with your characters. And I want to talk about why. So, I'm not the best player, but I'm solid. I have a good understanding of the game. I did game design in college, and I just think about League of Legends all the time. I was actually playing with a friend, which is why I'm making this video. My friend, he is hard stuck silver on Caitlyn. I was watching his games, and he was complaining about how his team's not working, and I was watching the gameplay, and the way he did his combos was really, really inefficient. So I gave him some advice, and his first reaction was, I'm high mastery on Caitlyn. At that point, I'm like, okay, we got an issue here. Like, not to be egotistical, but I'm objectively a better Caitlyn player than him. I have not more games per se, but I've reached significantly higher rank. I've learned from very high elo Caitlyn players, just watching them, mimicking them. I think the reason that he does not understand Caitlyn is because he thinks the champion is easier than it really is. Because Caitlyn has a very high skill floor. Even though you have games on the champion, doesn't mean you actually understand it. So, what is skill floor? And a more common term, skill ceiling. Skill ceiling, especially in League of Legends, is when a champion is very hard to master at the highest level. Highest level meaning for you to optimize the champion is a lot harder than it is to play sufficiently. Think Sylas, think Yasuo, think Irelia. These hyper carry-esque champions where you can 1v9 the game if your hands are good enough. And then high skill floors is how hard it is to play the champion at a sufficient level. So think Yuumi has a low skill floor because for you to be impactful on her is pretty easy compared to you mastering her. But someone like Akali is pretty easy to understand why she's hard, and for you to execute that is relatively difficult compared to other champions. The way I think about breaking these champions up is not so much, oh, what are all the combos you can do? Oh, what are the exact situations you want to be in every single time? I think of it like playing the champion sufficiently to its base kit. For example, on the left here, I have Sona's W. Sona's W does two things. It heals and shields your ally, which is pretty easy to optimize. You heal them when they're not full, if you have the mana, and you tap them with the shield. The difficult part is the Accelerando damage mitigation. This makes her next auto attack after clicking W, assuming she has enough stacks, powered, and it effectively exhausts a champion, making it so they deal 25% less damage and change. There's no other champion that exhausts in a basic ability. The closest thing is like Tryndamere W, which reduces the AD, which does nothing against magic damage. So even if you have a Sona that knows how to land her Q at max range every time, they know how to auto Q auto with that auto reset and the animation, and they can maximize their damage in the early game. If you do not know what your W power chord and powered auto does, you are significantly worse than someone who does, even if they don't know the fancy things. And for Caitlyn, most common combo in a lot of situations is EW. So E is the net, W is a trap. And EQ is you throw the trap at them, and while you're flying backwards, you can shoot your skill shot and do a lot of damage to someone who's walking towards you. However, I think it is a win more combo for a lot of the situations. If you're really ahead, you don't want to E backwards unless you have perfect lethal on the guy. And if you're behind, or in a situation where you're running away, you leaning the Q usually doesn't get them off of you. EW gets them off of you. If you land the W because your E slow, you also get the extra empowered auto attack, and then you get a free Q because they're stunned from your W. So in a lot of situations, EW is actually the best combo, but I never see it in low elo. Like low elo players hate this ability, this W ability, but if it lands, your reward is so high. You get an empowered auto, you get a snare. It's just good. It's really good. Moral of the story here is a Caitlyn can look, she is comboing her EQ really well. She's kiting really well with her auto attacks. But if you can't use the W ability, you're playing a champion with one less ability, and it is one of her strongest. And I think part of the reason that people will get into these traps of playing these high skill floor champions ineffectively is because of a tier list like this. Like, let's look at this. Draven, Ezreal, Kalista, Xayah, and Vayne at the bottom. These are all these like super high APM champions that are incredibly complex to a new player who's never picked up League before. But if you have hands and you've played the game before, like realistically, Draven and Ezreal to play sufficiently are not that hard. You pick up your axe and you run at a guy and kill him. For Ezreal, you stack your passive and then you go in and kill a guy. If you want to play safe, you stay in the back and throw Q. Not to say that it's easy to master, because I think to master those champions is extremely high. But if we look at the bottom end, I believe we've all seen Jinx be useless, Caitlyn be useless, MF be useless. And it's because those people don't understand that you need to respect the champion more than its outside look. I would say that Jinx is actually very hard to play well. In low elo, if you position well, you can get away with it, but her mastery curve is very high. But someone's skill floor, like the Caitlyn, like the Aphelios, understanding what his guns do, pretty high. That's all to say that the skill floor and skill ceiling should not be confused. And if you find yourself stuck on one of these champions that feels too simple, I think there has to be a mindset shift, because you're kind of trapping yourself. To clarify what a high skill floor looks like, it can be maybe difficult to understand. So someone like Akali is very hard to understand for a new player. I would say Viego with his passive is really hard to understand. So these are obvious versions of high skill floor. Difficult to optimize is someone like the Sona, someone like the Caitlyn. Like, you can play it efficiently to a point, but there are things you will have to do consciously, understandingly, in order to get the most out of it. And the last is difficulty to be effective. Think the Yuumi who does nothing in your games. Think the Echo that falls behind mid lane, and he's just absolutely useless. Think of your Zed assassin jungle, who can full clear his camps in 250, and then he will proceed to lose you the game because you have no objectives, and he does nothing. You actually have to have a level of impact in a league game, and if you are struggling to find a way to be the most impactful, especially in low elo, your champion might just have a very high skill floor, and you have to respect it. So how do you break the wall? I like to break the wall, personally, by changing champions. If I feel like I'm stuck on why I can't improve on Caitlyn, I've seen all these guides, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, I like to switch it up completely. And it's kind of a shortcut, because you will eventually have to go back to your character. But I do think by forcing yourself to learn a new champion, to take the perspective of that champion, you can go back to your old one and have new opinions, try new things, and hopefully break the wall. The other way is you should look for coaching or a YouTube video of a better player, and they will generally do things that are completely different than you. And it's not to say they're always right, because they do have their own playstyle to an extent, but taking inspiration from them to carve your own playstyle and to learn the nuances of what your champion can do are always extremely useful. I think if you want to learn in this game, the resources exist for you. You just have to find them. All right, thanks for watching. That's all I want to talk about. I hope my boy will get out of silver, and I hope you do too. All right, have a good one.